I always told him to knock it off, that one day he'd be caught by the coroner and that'd be it for him. But Johnny never listened. He claimed that fucking corpses was better than fucking real-life girls. You can do whatever you want to a corpse, he reasoned, and you don't have to worry about pregnancy or STDs. When I mentioned that corpses were cold and dry, Johnny produced a curling iron from his pocket. "Doesn't take long to heat 'em up with this," he said with his trademark stupid grin. "Add a little lube and you're good to go." When he was done, he'd clean his semen out with a turkey baster. I thought he was a sick fucker, but he thought he was a pioneer. Different perceptions, I guess. One day we got a corpse of a Jane Doe in, early 20s, black hair, and not a scratch on her. Exactly Johnny's type. We kept the corpse for a while as we went through the process of identifying her, with Johnny paying special attention to her every single night, sometimes even twice. All attempts at identification eventually went bust. The girl's fingerprints had been burned off, her teeth filed down flat, and her DNA didn't match any known database. We couldn't figure out the cause of death either. That gave me the creeps, but Johnny didn't seem to mind one bit. I guess if you don't mind fucking a corpse, there isn't much in the world that can bother you. It was into the second week when problems began to arise for Johnny. The girl's belly started to swell. Johnny didn't pay much mind to it, he just flipped her over before he did his business. But I thought it was odd. When Johnny broke his wrist, he was out of work for a week and in the hospital while he recovered. The girl relaxed in her drawer unmolested for the time. When Johnny got back, however, he was in for a nasty shock. When he opened the morgue drawer and slid out his precious paramour, her belly had swelled to the point that it looked like she was 9 months pregnant. "What the fuck?" he said, backing up and carelessly sending the tray of scalpels clattering to the floor. "It must be a gas buildup from decomposition," I replied, but I wasn't sure I believed myself. I picked up one of the scalpels off the floor and held it out to Johnny. "Go ahead," I said. "Go ahead and what?" he asked. "Make an incision to let the gas out," I replied. A look of utter revulsion crossed Johnny's face. "Why do I have to do it?" he asked. "Because if you don't," I said, "I'll tell Dr. Corbin you were fucking her." "Some friend you are," he replied, reluctantly, taking the scalpel from me. He leaned over and held the scalpel half an inch from her skin. He took a deep breath as he tried to steady himself, but it was no use. Tremors were creeping slowly into his hand. As soon as he touched the cold steel to her belly, the corpse shot up into a sitting position and froze there, sending Johnny toppling over backwards onto the morgue floor. "What the fuck?" he said. "Rigor mortis," I replied, noting that a tremor had found its way into my voice. "In bad timing." Johnny pushed himself back to his feet and slowly lowered the scalpel back down, averting his eyes from the woman as the blade grew closer to her skin. The blade was just a hair away from the belly when it happened. A tiny, oily black hand erupted from her stomach, tearing her flesh apart as it burst through and seized Johnny around the wrist. Johnny's screams were short-lived as the arm yanked him downwards. The flesh of the woman's belly spread apart as it pulled Johnny inside. Blood spurted from the belly along with a sickly wet grinding sound as whatever it was devoured Johnny's head. I didn't stay long. I turned around and sprinted out of the morgue, never stopping to look back. As I ran, I heard a patter of wet feet slapping the ground behind me. When I got far enough away, I called the police from a payphone and told them to check out the morgue. I quit my job at the coroner's office and never looked back. But I heard through the grapevine that Johnny was never found and neither was the corpse of the Jane Doe. The only thing they found was little bloody footprints leading out of the morgue. When the footprints reached the outside door, they vanished. I moved out of town in the following months and cut all contact with most of my former friends. A few years later, I heard that a legend had grown in the town about a deformed creature that devoured pets and livestock whole. Maybe it has nothing to do with what I saw that night, and maybe it does. Truth be told, I don't really want to know.